Now we're going to talk about drop traps. So what drop traps do is allow us to go a little bit old school to get a cat that is less inclined to walk into a normal size trap. So I think it's really critical that a drop trap be a part of any larger size program because it's such an important tool for cats that may have injuries, cats that are just reluctant to go into smaller traps. It gives you a much larger footprint. It also allows you to get multiple cats if that's what you're going for. It can give us a lot of versatility. So 3 things we need: a drop trap, a cat we need to catch, and a piece of string. I'm also going to introduce the electronic trigger for this later. First, we're going to start with the standard Tomahawk drop trap as it's packaged. So we're going to see some of these common features again. We've got these little clips that just rotate off. So we spin them away and they pop open. And now, so we've just got this cool briefcase. So it really opens up really easily and nicely once you get those springs undone. So that outer part that was the briefcase now becomes the lid. You want to make sure that the lid is under the door so that we can open that door. Make sure everything is aligned, and then you're just going to go around the trap with those springs, and those springs are just going to keep the top on. So rather than making you hear that screechy noise on this nice clean concrete, I'm going to travel around the trap. So there are, on the front door of this guy, I shouldn't say the front door, this is the transfer door to get cats out once they've been caught. These hooks are actually first going to serve to keep that door closed, and then they can serve to keep a transfer cage or a community cat den connected so that we don't have separation when we're trying to do that transferring. Obviously, this is a much bigger space than a normal trap, so it is going to take a little more work to transfer, and those are going to help us do that job. So that's why there are 4 springs along the front. And all we end up doing, technically that's the side, but it's the side with the transfer door. We're going to end up with is this guy, just like this. We're going to bait back here. As much bait as you want, depends on who you're trying to get, what you're trying to get. Again, have the right bait for the cats that you're working with. Sometimes that's whatever a feeder has been feeding. Sometimes that's just super subjective to what you think is going to be best. All we need to do is tie this guy on using whatever sad little knot or amazing knot you want. I'm just doing an overhand with a bite. That is more than enough for this application. The string will break before that knot does. And I'm simply going to walk away, let my cat get as comfortable as I want. Make sure that you have a good field of view so that you can see that the cat is in fact inside and not on the other side. Depends a little bit on your vision and your depth perception. You may want binoculars depending on how long your string is. Just make sure that you have a good viewing angle. You may need to hide out a little bit. If this cat is shy because of you, other people, you may need to be rather far away, which I think is where the electronic trigger really serves its purpose. But either way, be as far away as you need to and as far away as your string will let you be. So you can see that's a much bigger opening. Cats are going to be much more willing to walk into that than they are into a regular trap. And we're just going to pull that and blammo. So we've got our cat inside, got my transfer cage. So for the purposes of the video, I'm going to move the trap. Normally you would have wanted to set it up so that you could easily transfer. So a couple things I need. I'm going to need a transfer cage, a pair of gloves, at least 1 trap divider, likely more than 1 trap divider. And a towel, the all-important towel. We really want something bigger for the transfer cage because, again, covering that entire enclosure is going to make that animal a lot more calm. I sadly don't have something larger for the purposes of this video. But please imagine with me that we're using a much larger cover. So I'm back to my armor hand gloves, which again I like because of the dexterity. They do fit snugly. So this is a medium, I have medium hands. I can't fit any more hand in there. Okay, so transferring again can be simple or complicated, and it depends partly on how many cats there are and on the disposition of the cat that's in there. So as we talked about before, I'm gonna get everything set up before I open doors. So I'm gonna align my doors. I'm not gonna pull the springs off of the drop trap door and connect my transfer cage. So now this is well attached. I'm gonna remove this door. I'm not gonna remove it, I'm just gonna raise it a little bit. I'm gonna kink my transfer cage door at a little bit of an angle. And now what I'm gonna do is try to use the power of suggestion. Let the cat believe that it can get out. I can use my body to do that. Most cats, when exposed like this, are gonna wanna move away from me. And I can just play around with light and dark, give them a place to hide so they can escape into the transfer cage. That often is enough all by itself. If it comes down to needing to use trap dividers, it's a lot more work in this type of cage than it is in a normal trap. But this is just long enough to reach the bottom, so I do have the ability to manipulate, and I can do that as much as I need to. I've never needed to go really in depth with a whole lot of trap dividing, going in all around and everything. Generally, you can sneak in from behind a cat, move them away from the wall, and they're gonna be trying to get away from you, and they're gonna end up in here, and I'm gonna quickly close that down. It's just much less likely that they're going to be stationary in the center of this big space. If they absolutely are, I can in fact move this toward that cat and get them closer to that door, and then sweep with my trap divider, with my divider in this case. Let's see. So I can literally just move the entire trap closer to the cat, and then I can sweep as close as I need to. I don't have a lot of purchase with this, a lot of leverage to move that animal, but it's enough to make contact, and that cat is very likely to move away from me. Okay, so this is test number 1 of the drop trap with the electronic trigger. I'm gonna walk pretty far away, other side of this warehouse, and I'm gonna press one button. So that was really fast and smooth. I had heard some concern that it was noisy and slow, but I just installed this. This is the first time I've used it. Literally, that's the first time that I've pulled this trigger. I really think it comes down to setup, because I can completely understand how and why it could take too long. And I think there's 2 parts to that. One, let me try to turn this so you can see. If the bar mechanism is sticking out of the trap too far, that means that these 2 contact points, it's just too far in on this piston. I'm gonna show a close-up in just a second. You really want this to be precarious, and that's not unlike many forms of trap where you want that mechanism right there to just be a hair trigger. You want it just this side of falling on its own. So right when you're about to fall on your own, go back just a smidge. And what this allows you to do is go as far away as you need to go for that cat that's just really sensitive. So I'm gonna try it one more time. This will be just the second trial. One thing I did figure out immediately, make sure you turn this on before you set this up, because when you turn it on, the electronics automatically reset and it cycles the piston and it drops the trap. So make sure you turn it on, then set it, bait it, go as far away as you need to. I'm gonna literally go as far away as I possibly can in this building. I'm assuming that the microphone is still going to work. I'm 100% confident that the drop trap is gonna work. So now I'm hiding way, way, way over in the corner. I could be outside right now, just peeking my head around the corner for that really sensitive cat. And there we go. So I'm actually really pleasantly surprised by how well this works. Installation was really simple. You know, it's not the flashiest piece of equipment. I mean, the trigger is. The trigger looks super cool. It's got your Tomahawk logo on there. That's a sleek piece of equipment. This is just enough. It's exactly what you need to serve this function. This little piece down here, and there are some really good instructions with it, so I'm not going to belabor the point. We're talking more function than install. But this little piece is just for safety. It's so that these tines aren't free to move around and allow the cat to hurt themselves. And that's something that I really like about a lot of the Tomahawk products. They do put in little refinements that make animal welfare better. So I think that's critical for any of this programming. So not waterproof, not snowproof, so do be careful in what environments you're using it in, but I am pleasantly surprised by how well this mechanism works. Okay, so I don't want to stereotype myself too much, but I didn't really read all the instructions initially, and I forgot these guys. These are very important to keep the control unit or the receiver unit flush up against that edge of that mounting bracket, because you really need all of the plunger for this thing to work. This has really got to be right at the tip. Make sure that weld is facing inward. This little bar that's welded on, make sure that faces inward. Again, that allows you to use the very end of the plunger. That's critical. It's also really critical, and it says in the instructions, that this bar, the piece that actually touches the ground and props the trap, is vertical, like not sticking out beyond the edge of the trap. And that's pretty hard to do. I've been playing with this for a little while now. You really got to test it, and I would test it every single time you use it, before you set it and before you walk away. I think you're going to find a difference in performance based on the substrate. Smooth concrete, maybe not the best. This is really smooth, recently finished concrete. You got to play with it, you got to get your angles right, and you really want this plunger sitting right at that edge. As long as you've got that, and you've got this safety bar connected, you should get pretty good action. Like that is pretty fast as long as you've baited the back of the trap. I can't see the animal getting away, but I did play with this a lot. I had plenty of hang-ups before I got the hang of it. Test it again. But I think that if you're the type of trapper who's working with a lot of difficult cats, you've got a lot of volume of cats, this can play an important role in allowing you to get farther away. I know way back in the day, I had a large group trap set up with actually remote monitoring camera, because we had some dogs in the deserts of Kuwait that were just so feral that you couldn't get anywhere near them whatsoever. If they saw you, heard you, smelled you, they were gone. So we'd have to leave the trap out for a week before we even tried to use it, and then use the camera technology and everything. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but just having that trigger remotely allows you to get just off around the corner where you can just see, you could be looking through some binoculars or something, and get your cat. The drop trap also has a key role in selective trapping, especially once you've started to trap a colony. You've got some of them trapped and some of them not trapped, and you know you're going after the ones that aren't ear tipped. The drop trap can help you to target trap as well, which can be pretty, can save you a lot of time, can be a lot more efficient for you. One last trick on the drop trap I learned as I was taking it apart and putting it back together for this video. Take these little spring clips and just clip them in place as you take it apart. That'll save you some grief getting things hung up. I'm surprised I didn't know that by now, but I think that is part and parcel to making sure we're all open to learning all the time. So clip those in place, you'll save yourself some heartache.